happy Monday, market survivors and weekend chart stalkers. I'm SENB Bhiro, and this is the SNB Daily Brief for November 17th, 2025, the day after Bitcoin tried to rally and then remembered it's Monday. Over the weekend, Bitcoin made two brave attempts at $95,000, failed twice, and is now sulking in the corner. Ethereum moved like it was hungover, and analysts online spent 48 hours drawing lines so random they looked like escape plans. We've got a full week ahead. Macro landmines, political noise, global tension, and traders pretending they slept. And today marks the debut of a brand new voice here at the show, Tina Bean. Now, Tina says she's not here for attention. We'll see about that. But she is here with opinions. And if her pre-show notes are anything to go by, I might need hazard pay. All right, enough warming up. Let's get into the weekend recap, the macro setup, the political rematch, and yes, Tina will make her first official appearance. Welcome to Monday.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
All right, let's start with the weekend recap, because crypto did what crypto does best. Absolutely nothing reasonable. So let's break it down. Bitcoin spent the entire weekend trying to reclaim $95,000, made two heroic attempts, failed both times, and is now drifting around like it's questioning its life choices. This is classic post-shutdown confusion. Markets want direction, the data still isn't back to normal, and Bitcoin is basically shrugging its shoulders like, I don't know, man, you tell me. Ethereum didn't help either. It tried to get above $3,000, got scared, backed up, and is now moving like someone waking up from a 3-day nap. Over on the derivatives side, funding rates stayed neutral to slightly negative, open interest stayed elevated, and liquidity pockets thinned out, especially on smaller exchanges, meaning there's still volatility baked in, but no one wants to be the first one to push the red button, or the green one. As usual, altcoins followed Bitcoin's mood swings. Solana retraced a few percent, Avalanche slipped, Chainlink stayed stubborn, and the meme coins, they're doing exactly what you'd expect meme coins to do, either mooning for no reason or collapsing for even less reason. Now, liquidity flows from Asia last night were mixed. Japan saw mild inflows into BTC, South Korea had mostly sideways movement, and Singapore traders pulled back a bit, probably waiting for U.S. markets to give direction today. Meanwhile, U.S. futures opened soft overnight, hinting at weaker risk appetite heading into the week. And if you're watching social sentiment this weekend, you probably saw two extremes. Half the internet was calling for a Bitcoin recovery. The other half was posting doomsday Fibonacci spirals. Truly a balanced marketplace. All right, that's the weekend recap. Coming up next, the macro setup for the week ahead, including Fed speakers, missing data, and the economic landmines on the calendar.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
Okay, let's zoom out and look at the macro setup for the week, because if last week was chaos, this week is the sequel nobody asked for. First big theme, missing data ripple effect. Because of the shutdown, last week's CPI was incomplete, unreliable, or straight up missing, depending on which agency you ask. And now, analysts, traders, and yes, even the Fed, are trying to build a forecast with half the ingredients. It's like trying to bake a cake with flour, vibes, and a screenshot of someone else's recipe. Let's hit the key events. 1. Fed speakers this week. We've got multiple Fed officials speaking Tuesday through Thursday, and they're almost guaranteed to dance around the missing CPI issue like it's a family secret. One hawk already said inflation is still too hot, which didn't exactly calm markets. Expect the usual, data dependent, monitoring conditions, and the classic, we remain vigilant. Translation, we don't know either, but please pretend we do. 2, PPI data, producer price index, scheduled for later this week. And unlike CPI, this one might actually be complete. The expectation is a 0.2% monthly rise, but with all the recent survey gaps, you'll want to treat this one as directional instead of precision. 3, retail sales midweek. This is a big one for risk assets. If consumer spending shows resilience, markets chill out. If it shows weakness, prepare for dramatic articles titled Recession Incoming. 4, earnings leftovers. We've got a handful of corporate earnings trickling in, mostly retail and tech midcaps. Nothing earth-shattering, but enough to nudge sentiment. 5, global markets. Asia opened cautious last night. Europe opened cautious this morning. The only thing not cautious right now is the political noise coming out of D.C., which we'll cover next. The bottom line for the week, we're dealing with a combination of missing inflation data, lingering shutdown scars, jittery traders, elevated volatility, and no clear direction from the Fed. So, if the markets feel indecisive today, it's because they are. All right, coming up next, Shutdown Round 2, the political rematch everyone hoped would get canceled, but absolutely did not. And yes, Tina will be listening closely for this one.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
All right, time for the part of the show that raises everyone's blood pressure, the political forecast. The shutdown ended last week, everyone high-fived themselves, and now we get to enjoy the sequel, Shutdown Round 2, December edition. Because nothing says good governance like scheduling another national crisis right before the holidays. Let's break down what's happening. Democrats are still upset internally. Some blame leadership, some blame Republicans, some blame the Senate vending machine for not taking their card. The point is, they feel they lost leverage in the negotiations. And they're already promising they'll hold firm in December. Based on history, holding firm means holding a press conference, sending an email blast, and then negotiating themselves into a corner by week 2. Meanwhile, Republicans are doing victory laps like they just won a championship game. But the bill they passed? It funds the government for about as long as your New Year's resolution lasts. They're calling it a win. Analysts are calling it a pause. And voters are calling it exactly why we can't have nice things. Here's the real kicker. The underlying fight that caused the shutdown, healthcare, budget structures, and funding priorities, wasn't solved. It was delayed. Like a parent telling a kid, we'll talk about this when we get home. And yes, the talk is still happening. Now, here's where markets care. The shutdown already disrupted economic data. Surveys weren't collected, CPI is incomplete, agencies are catching up like college students cramming for finals. So when December comes, if we see another standoff, inflation readings, employment reports, PPI, consumer surveys all get disrupted again, which is the macro equivalent of unplugging your router every time your game starts lagging. Investor confidence hinges on clarity, which the shutdown damaged. Another shutdown would hit risk sentiment, liquidity flows, consumer confidence, and the entire 2026 outlook. Not to mention, if the BLS can't collect data again, we get another round of CPI fan fiction from analysts on X. And you know how that goes. The takeaway, Democrats are frustrated. Republicans are celebrating. Neither side solved anything. And the markets, honestly, just want a nap. All right, enough politics. Coming up next, she's here. The one and only Tina Bean making her first official appearance on the show. Brace yourselves.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
All right, she's here. I promised it. You demanded it. HR warned me about it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the newest voice on the show, Tina Bean.
Well, it's about time! I've been sitting backstage listening to you recap the weekend like you're narrating a nature documentary. Bitcoin struggled, Ethereum wandered, and analysts migrated in confusing patterns. Please!
Tina, we literally just started.
And already I've got notes. First note, if Bitcoin fails at the same resistance level twice in 48 hours, that's not a chart pattern. That's a cry for help.
I mean, fair, but this is the news show, not group therapy.
Could have fooled me. And second note, if we're gonna talk shutdowns again, I'm gonna need stronger coffee. Because nothing screams Monday like Congress scheduling a rematch before the bruises from the last round even fade.
So, welcome to the show, Tina.
Oh, don't worry, Sen. I'll behave. Probably.
And that, dear listeners, concludes the opening of the Tina era. Now let's move into the community mailbag, where Tina will probably have opinions.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
All right, it's time for the community mailbag, where I answer your questions and try to maintain professionalism, despite certain new variables.
Oh, please, Sen. You love the chaos. It's the only reason people listen.
Fantastic. She's warmed up. First question today comes from Mark in Denver. Sen, is Bitcoin recovering this week, or should I expect more pain? Well, Mark, historically...
Oh, historically nothing, Sen. Mark, sweetie, if Bitcoin couldn't hold $95,000 after 2 tries, it's not recovering. It's regrouping. Like a toddler who just face-planted on the carpet.
Tina, I was literally in the middle of...
And I finished your thought. You're welcome.
Moving on. Next question. Do you think the shutdown drama is going to hit the markets again in December? Yes. The odds of another standoff increase significantly because Congress didn't fix the underlying issues.
See? We agree. That's progress.
No, Tina, that's not progress. That's me trying to finish one sentence without you...
Oh, lighten up. The listeners like variety.
Third question is from Anthony in Miami. What altcoins are still worth holding through this volatility? Well, Anthony, that depends on your time horizon.
Anthony, listen to me. If your altcoin has a mascot, a theme song, or a founder who live streams from his mom's garage, Sell it!
Tina!
Tell me I'm wrong.
I can't. Last question. Sen, how long before Tina takes over the show? From, oh look, Anonymous.
Oh, wow! Must be a fan.
No, it is not a fan. And Tina is not taking over the show.
Yet.
Okay, and that concludes the worst behaved mailbag segment in show history.
You're welcome.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
All right, before we wrap up this Monday madness, let's talk about what powers this entire ecosystem, the SENB token and the proof of thought system, which is how your questions make it onto the show. If you're new, the SENB token is your access key to the Bhiro verse. Everything from community voting to mailbag submissions to shaping future episodes. With proof of thought, you can submit questions, submit commentary, vote on topics, and get featured on air. And honestly, today's mailbag proves why that matters. Because when you send in great questions, the show becomes more fun, more chaotic, and more community-driven. You can get your token, get involved, and start submitting at senbhiromedia.com. Now, as for today's markets, here's the brief version. Weekend volatility was messy. Macro uncertainty is high. Fed speakers this week may shake things up, and political headlines are gearing up for another showdown in December, which means this week is all about staying patient, staying aware, and staying caffeinated.
And staying ready for Congress to break something. Again.
Thank you, Tina. Very uplifting. Anyway, that's all for today's show. I'm SENB Bhiro. This was the SENB Daily Brief for Monday, November 17th, 2025. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and I'll see you tomorrow, assuming Tina doesn't file another HR complaint. Have a great rest of your day. The SENB Daily Brief is a production of SENB Hero Media in collaboration with Whole Shot Coffee, coffee that fuels champions. Written and hosted by yours truly, SENB Hero. Production editing and scheduling handled by Maya Valencia, who somehow keeps me on time, caffeinated, and occasionally polite. Original theme music composed and produced by Paul Hahn, the community legend whose beats hit harder than a Fed rate hike. Research support provided by the SENB community. Proof that sarcasm and spreadsheets can coexist. For more shows, merch, and on-chain chaos, visit senbhiromedia.com. Thanks for tuning in. Stay caffeinated. And remember, if it's not in the brief, it probably wasn't bullish anyway.
Set my wallet free.